Hello again, and
Hi.
welcome to Failure Analysis. My name's Kevin Jordan. Today we're talking to Sigma. Sorry, Sigma. I was just doing my intro for YouTube. How you doing?
Good, no worries. Sorry about that. I
No
was like, oh.
problem. Perfect timing.
Um, is it okay if I call you so we can do the cameras again?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me
Okay.
disable mine, and then we'll get me in
All right, you
Discord.
got it.
Okay. There I am.
Perfect. Okay, let me see if I can.
Yeah, so today Sigma and I are going to talk about the economy in Tarkov, and then whatever else it spins off into, of course. Economy is just one part of Tarkov's total experience, but it's a very important part. So um, we'll see where that takes us. A lot of related elements. Double Sigma. I like it.
Oh, do you have my stream on too?
I do.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Hey, I'm gonna take off push to talk too. I'm just warning you now.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, there we go. So, for anybody that doesn't know here, this is Kevin Jordan, and we just wanted to discuss the economy. So last time what happened was I found Kevin talking about some different things that I just found really cool. So I asked him to come on so we could talk about it. This time I don't really like have a basis for this or crazy questions to ask.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought we'd just BS for a little bit
Yeah.
about this because I think the economy is out of control.
Right. Right. Sounds good.
Yeah, it's I've never seen so many people have 100 million plus, and
Right.
I don't think it's a bad thing, but I think it takes away the struggle that we all fell in love with.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
and I don't
Um,
know how to fix it.
I do think, like, yeah, Tarkov, like many people, I think Tarkov's at its best when you're hungry, like you don't have unlimited resources. I've certainly noticed myself even once I get to like 25 million, I feel like I'm done in that regards. I stop wanting to loot, like
Yeah,
what's the best that can possibly happen if I loot a filing cabinet, like
right.
so you stop enjoying so many aspects of the Tarkov experience, which is running around and fighting people, but also looting. So, yeah, it's a tricky place for the game to be in.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know what to. I've tried to think of ways out of it, but every time it's like a maze, right? Like you
mm-hmm,
think you're going on the right track, and then it turns out it's a dead end, or no, it doesn't even make
right.
sense. Why would you think that way? But one of my friends made a post on Twitter and he said, look at my raid backpack. I killed 4 Chads. I literally have all of their stuff.
Mm-hmm,
And he goes to sell it because you can't sell it on the market, right? So
right.
he goes to sell it to traders. And he's like, I'm making less money taking out a 4 man and risking all of my gear than I am finding one graphics card and hiding in a
Right.
bush. And
Right.
I was like, that's so true. Like, I know they're worth a lot, but until I
Mm-hmm.
saw that visual,
Yeah, yeah.
or explained that way, I was like, yeah, like, what the hell?
So yeah, I think the deeper problem there is not that, because I think I was on your stream when people were talking about um, it's more profitable to just run around naked and with a pistol and look for graphics cards, right? Than it
Mhm.
is to go fight people. So, but I think the deeper problem is, why does either group care about more money? Like if if what you really want to do is just get in and have some good fights, and you bring whatever gear you want or can afford, and now everyone can afford everything. So then why does it matter if you kill 4 Chads and carry all their loot out of the place? Both of you on both sides can just re-equip for very little cost to you.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, but you're not going to insure it for a little cost. The insurance is crazy.
sure, sure. But again, we just all have so much money that it doesn't really ding us. Like we could play for a long time and never pick anything up, and probably not really notice, especially
Yeah.
with the hideout churning out bitcoins, right? So, and then on the other side, why does the rat need another graphics card. Like he's got tons of money too. Like if he's good at ratting, then so why do we continue to do these things that generate money if we have so much? It's probably just because it's habit. Like that's the way we play, and probably because like to in a way that's our scoreboard, right? Like how much money we have is our scoreboard.
Yeah,
So
and
we
it
want
gives
to,
us something to shoot for, even if it's another 50 million or another
right?
100 million. Like it still gives that player something to
Yeah,
shoot for.
yeah, for sure.
Um,
But
but yeah, I do remember back when it used to be very like profitable to kill players, and I don't know
yeah,
how we fix that versus the found and raid stuff on the market.
right,
I I don't want to speak up about it until I have something decent to bring to the table, but again, I just keep running into the same wall over and over.
right. Um, yeah, I mean, you could certainly say as long as you have the storage space, then looting chads is profitable because it saves you from ever having to buy that stuff, right? So
Sure.
even if you don't sell it just for raw, money, you have, tons of slicks, killed from people and Altons, so you never have to worry about, buying that stuff, which is kind of expensive. But yeah, that stuff doesn't really rate to the graphics cards because the key right now, I think, is just getting your Bitcoin farm, spitting out those Bitcoins, because that's I think at the end of the day, that's the true damage to the economy is the passive income that comes out of the hideout, and
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
also the damage to the experience because um, you once you have the hideout going, it's actually for people that are like me that have a higher likelihood of like losing money when they go out, fully equipped, or play for a night and bring good kits. Um, it's actually more profitable not to play at all, right? To just let the Bitcoin farm do its thing.
Yeah,
And
just go on vacation for a week.
yeah,
I think Test went on vacation for a week and made like 10 million, 12
right. So
million, something like that. Yeah, just by collecting his Bitcoin.
I think that's actually more damaging to the experience than anything. And I'm trying to figure out like what are the upsides to passive income, especially as it goes up over time. Because certainly the best players in the game like get their Bitcoin farms up and running really fast and then just start making bank. And you could argue that it allows them to play the game the way they want, which is fully kitted out, running around, dominating.
Mm-hmm.
And then like other players that aren't as good will like that they won't get their hideouts up and running, and they'll tend to struggle with gear and bringing good stuff and affording everything they need. And so for them, they still have to play the normal experience, which is go into the map and try to make money in the map. And they can't play exactly how they want because they can't afford to gear out, to the gills.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you could say that's a good thing, but I can see, at least I can see a lot of high-end players saying that that's a good thing. That once they get their hideout upgraded, they can play the game the way they want, right?
Right. And I think it's a good option.
Right.
I don't think that's a bad option to have, but you have some people that 100% will do nothing but buy all the graphics cards they can possibly afford, run
Mm-hmm.
their wallet into the ground right in the beginning
Yeah.
once they hit level 10 on that first day or two, just so that later they're set up or all the water filters, they'll keep all the water filters they can possibly find, only go
Right.
hunting for water filters. I have a friend that has 2 junk boxes full of them, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna start selling them." And I'm like, "Holy cow!" Like,
Right.
yeah. So I like all the options that we have. I think that the Bitcoin and the graphics cards, I do on the can you cap it? Can you cap these? And that
Right.
would fix the
And that, yeah.
situation. Can
Because,
we just make them worth half what they really are worth in the real world economy? Like
yeah, yeah.
something.
I think the game design argument I would make against that feeling of passive income allows me to play the game the way I want to is that you're not having as much fun as you did when the wipe first started. I think most people would say their favorite time is a fresh wipe, right? Um,
Yeah, I think everybody says that, other than me.
right.
I need all the help I can get. I need all the armor. I need all the
Right.
good bullets, like anything.
But like you said before, the struggle is why we love this game, right? Like, and so once that struggle goes away, it feels diminished to me. And so playing the game I want, which is the thing that passive income allows, I actually think is contradictory to people having the best time.
It is. It
Right.
is.
So, and that's the damage that passive income does to me through the hideout. Is that it makes the experience worse. But I think a lot of people don't necessarily realize that or notice it, because they're
How do you
chasing
feel
that
about
high
that?
score. Well,
What about new players? How do you feel about that for the
yeah.
people
So
that are new? Because
new
the hideout has come
players,
into handy, like big time for them.
not really, because it takes them forever to get it going, right? Like they're so new players, like the first wipe, I didn't max my hideout. I didn't even come close to maxing my hideout the first wipe. And so it had very little benefit to me. I never even had a Bitcoin farm. So I think I got
Okay.
to a scav box, and obviously, I'm I'm probably around the 50% mark in terms of skill, maybe a little bit above in some ways, but below in other ways. And so my new experience wasn't necessarily everybody's new experience. People that are better at, first person shooters are going to have a better experience. Um, and so they're going to ramp up a little better, but I don't think it benefits new players as much
Hmm.
as quickly as a lot of people think.
Things like
Um,
the fuel shortage, it just got brought up in chat.
mhm.
I thought that was super cool. I think that
Yeah, I like
having
dynamic economy events as well. I think that's really interesting.
yeah, and the limit on the Bitcoins right now doesn't bother me one bit for the Tetris trade.
Right, right.
I know it's only 100, and I'm sorry that you didn't trade your Tetrises immediately when you got them every time, but
Right.
yeah, I'm
Yes.
not sure. I just have
Yeah.
one question in
Hmm.
chat. The cap will just make people hate the game because they will feel obligated to return and collect it. What cap? Cap on what, chat? Let me know
Oh,
what that
like
means.
the cap, I guess, on how much money you can make from the hideout or the
Yeah.
the
Well, I'm saying
Bitcoin.
like if they capped the see, this is where I run into the wall with it. Is like trying to cap something like a graphics card
Mm-hmm.
isn't going to be helpful. Of course, it's a thought that I run across. Like, do you think it would be helpful to maybe set some type of a limit on these things? But then everybody's going to just sell it for that max price. And
Right.
that doesn't make sense either. This is what a free economy looks like
Mm-hmm.
too.
For
Like,
sure.
sorry, but
Yeah.
so I don't know. It just makes me uncomfortable because this isn't the Tarkov that a lot of people, I think, fell in love with right away.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting because like Bitcoin. So Bitcoin obviously blew the economy out of out of proportion, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of those things scaled, right? The prices of a lot of stuff scaled up because you have to pay way for more for ammo. You have to pay way more for various things. But
Mm-hmm.
the vendors stayed fixed. So any place where the vendor is interacting with the economy, that's the stuff that's really like out of whack. And you can get a lot of stuff from the vendors, but yeah, like ammo, and it's somewhat of its scarcity. But I think one of the bigger problems they're going to have, like even if Bitcoin went back to normal prices, let's say they were back to
Okay.
here's your
Yeah, I want to
150,
hear this
200,
scenario.
you
I
know,
want to hear this scenario play out.
I think over time you still have players generally speaking getting better and better at making money. Like the population is just getting better and better at making money. More and more people are becoming veterans of the game. They're learning the maps. They're learning the money routes. And so the income is sort of steadily going up in the game. And there aren't enough things taking money out of the economy. The insurance thing was a really nice sink to start taking more money out. So as much as we all groan about the increased insurance costs, that actually is really helpful to taking money out. The side effect is people don't want to run really expensive gear because of the
Yeah, I'm paying
price, you know.
150 a raid for it.
Right.
You
But
know, that's crazy.
yeah, yeah. And you used to pay 50, right, or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
50 or 75. So it's done good work, but I think what's happening now is there's kind of a couple problems. One is that income is steadily going up, and there aren't enough, things taking money out. And the other is, I think most people settle into cost-effective kits rather than the best kits. I think the best kits in people's mind are the cost-effective kits. And this is another problem, is that your money-making potential is less to do with your equipment and more to do with your skill and game knowledge and all that. There are a couple things that are of maximum importance: the ammo you're using, the gun you're using, and then armor does play in, but I think armor is really struggling to have an impact. So, like, very few people are running around in, the turtle armor, right?
Right. No, it's true.
It's just not cost effective, and it slows you down way too much. It makes you an easy target. You have to crawl
that
all
used
over
to
the
be.
map.
I loved that armor.
Yeah.
I used to love it.
And I think the
I tell new
idea,
players all the time though, is like there's three things that'll win and lose you every single fight in Tarkov, other than just being that guy that just hits your headshot on the first try, is your ammo knowledge, right? That's a big one.
for sure.
If you can throw 1,000 rounds of PS ammo at somebody and it could do nothing.
Yeah.
Your map knowledge, that's a big one, because I say flanking is important. Being able to retreat is important. A lot of times people watch their favorite streamer and they think, oh, they chase after these sounds, I should chase after this stuff.
Right.
No, it's called escape from Tarkov. So learning the maps, right? And then sound, that's probably the biggest investment that I try to go after right away, is getting Sword-ins, because that's my favorite headset. It's not everybody's, and that's okay, but that's where I throw my money at, is I'd rather have a pair of Sword-ins on than helmet per se. But you definitely have a lot to figure out, and people are starting to get there.
Listen,
and there's a lot of help now too.
My POV is set to 55, or my FOV.
Okay.
And that's because my boomer eyes, I don't spot things as quickly as I used to, right? And so when I wear an Alton, I'm literally blind and deaf. So I can't even wear an Alton. Like, my only chance is to hear them before I, have a chance to spot them.
Right.
So ears, definitely double down on the ears. But to get back to the armor thing, I think armor is failing at its role right now, which is to, one, allow people with a lot of money to spend a lot of money for that extra protection, because it doesn't pay out. And the other thing is to allow players that aren't as good at the game in a combat sense master the art of collecting money, so that they can afford to run big tanky setups and get some value out of it, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just not paying out right now. It's not effective. So,
because even having everything max, like, I still wouldn't wear a fort armor unless I was going into like labs to screw around, to screw around and be like, I'm gonna go into the tank. But they need to reduce some of that. And we were just saying earlier in my stream, like, they also need to bring down max strength a little bit. Just a side note. I know it's not the economy, but it just annoys me.
Yeah, max strength is like unachievable to most players in the game. Like, I've never had over 20 strength ever in Tarkov. So
I think there's a ton of players out there that have it, though.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of players, but as a percentage, I think it's still pretty small. Like, a lot of people run around like in the 10 to 15 range. And the gear thing plays into that as well. It's like better players are more likely to have better gear, heavier gear, be carrying more loot more frequently and making it out. Worse players are like, they don't have a lot of gear, it's not very heavy, They suck at,
Yeah.
killing things and getting a bunch of stuff. Like, that's like 1 in 8, for them is like, oh, I filled up and ran out with a bunch of, like I crawled across the map and got out, right? But that's
Right.
like one in
Yeah.
three for the better players. The better players are like, oh yeah, I just cleaned up and got out of that stuff, and now I'm pissed because it doesn't sell for anything, right?
Yeah, exactly. They
Whereas,
just hauled it all the way across the map,
yeah,
near death multiple times, and they're like, awesome, I made 300,000. Like,
right.
took me an
Whereas
hour. Yeah.
the bad player is like, I don't even get that far. I can't, like it's just surviving is a treat for me.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I think passive income does a lot of damage to the experience. There aren't enough sinks is the other. I don't think armor's doing a great job. I would like to see, someone suggested in my channel several weeks ago, um, wear and tear on the hideout. They've talked about graphics cards having durability, but in terms of the overall experience, I think it would be great if like your light bulbs broke and now you care about light bulbs again. Like just
That
over
would be kind of
time,
cool.
like there's a little bit of a cost. It keeps the value of light bulbs at least somewhat important, and it also like changes the value to each player a little bit of what is a light bulb worth. Like it's exciting to find a light bulb again in a a filing cabinet because your light bulbs back in the base just broke. So
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
run is
Yeah.
just, yeah, it's kind of nice. It's a cool little bonus. It's an extra reason for me to search that filing cabinet or whatever. So
Yeah.
I really like that idea. It's also just serves as a money sink. Like some people won't bother with filing cabinets; they'll just buy them off the auction house because they have tons of money. But it's still just, it keeps a lot of those things that have value at the beginning of the wipe, having value for a much longer time.
Yeah. I really actually like that idea. That's
So yeah, I
good.
thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's just the bigger problems of like, I think another big reason why people have tons of money is because of the map changes. Um, like customs and woods are both much larger now, and
Mhm.
there's way more loot on them. So the
And not any
chances,
more players.
yeah, so the chances that you get into the game, get loot, and get out is going up, right? And so everyone's kind of making that more money per run. And at the same time, we're actually engaging in fewer fights per run. And that's not a good trend for the Chads out there, right?
Right.
It's a
Yeah.
great trend for the rats. The rats are super excited.
Right.
But the Chads are like, oh my god, I can't find a fight to save my life. I'm running all over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I
and
wish
so,
I had more players on Woods. I do. Even if it
yeah,
was two
yeah,
or three more, just something to make it pop off more
yeah.
often.
But if you think like customs as an example, let's say a team of 5 spawn on one side, total Chads, and on the other side is another team of 5 Chads. All they want is an amazing fight. There's a reasonable
Hmm.
chance that they don't find each other,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah. We see it all the time in evasion.
Yeah,
People are literally, 50 yards from each other, 25 yards, or they're on the other side of the wall and they just, one turns right and one turns
yep,
left, and they're both complaining of not being able to find each other. And we're watching this happen, going,
right.
oh my God, you're right there. They're going to run into each other. And
Finally, some action. Yeah.
yeah. And no, turns out.
So that's a worrying trend for me, and it was something I was worried about when they first announced, the expansions to the maps is, um, and this is kind of why Streets terrifies me because Streets is going to be so big. I really worry about the collision, rate between players, because I think
40 people, 2
yeah.
hours on a raid time.
So I think it'll be very busy at the beginning, but
Okay.
then it's just going to be a ghost town, right? Like as more people die and more people leave, like, and it's what is it going to be, a 90-minute map?
They set up to 2 hours, I think.
Yeah.
I
So
just
how are they going to maintain that sense of action and investment? Because
Tess did
like,
bring up one time, like spawning raiders in at different times throughout the map, or
hmm,
loot spawning in at the map
yeah,
at different points. Like that would be honestly, I think that would be amazing for any map because it would keep people in
Yeah.
longer. Like, oh,
Yeah.
what's going to spawn over here? I might have already been there, but maybe this happened.
Yeah. It's definitely something they could play with. That's a huge change, but definitely something they could consider and play with. But yeah, just I think they need to be looking at that kind of stuff, like especially as they think about map expansions. Because I think they overdid it with, like with customs as an example. There's so much loot now on the factory side. Um, you can fill up before you kind of even leave the area, you know,
Yeah, that's true.
and so your first thought before you even have a potential encounter is to start getting out of the map, right? Rather
Yeah.
than I have to go to dorms, I have to go to, you know, the old gas route. I have to go to gas station. I have to go to some of the places that everyone is thinking I have to go to, which creates a ton of collision at those locations. Now you just
Hmm.
fill up in factory with a bunch of awesome stuff, and you're like, okay, now just get out. Avoid all those locations and get out.
Yeah,
Because, like, as you fill up with loot, your desire to fight goes down, right?
it does. Yeah, that's true. Even though I have a ton of money and a ton of gear and I'm fine, if
Yeah.
my backpack starts getting full, I'm kind of like, maybe we should just reset real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just in our nature, right? Because we still remember the struggle of the beginning days, of just trying to get loot and get out. So it's
Yeah.
still kind of fresh in our emotional, mindset. So,
I just
yeah,
don't know
so,
how you keep it more interesting. A lot of people say that they want more dynamic loot spawns.
mhm,
I am not a game designer or dev
right.
or anything, but that can't be easy.
No,
I feel like that wouldn't
it's
be
not.
easy.
Well, dynamic loot, I don't think most people realize what they're saying with dynamic loot spawns. Um, I think what they're saying is more random loot spawns. But dynamic loot spawn is like, so this is what it means to me as a designer. Dynamic loot spawn is based on the conditions. It changes what loot is generated. Right. The example is I'm on a quest, so it spawns a quest item because I'm on that quest. When I look in a jacket, I
Okay.
find a key because I'm on that quest. If I'm not on that quest, I don't find a key. No one else finds a key. Right.
Okay.
That to me is what dynamic loot is. So
Okay.
I think what people are saying, they want it to be more random, meaning red key
Like
cards
that
can spawn
graphics
in more
card.
locations.
Yeah, like that
Right.
graphics card doesn't spawn on that whatever desk every single time
Yeah,
or
yeah. Or that's the only
because
place it can spawn. Yeah.
yeah, because the people that the hatchet runners just running in or the pistol runners just running in, grabbing that stuff and hiding in a bush
Yeah.
and then leaving. It's like,
Right.
no, I want a chance to find it all over the map. But then you also I would think you don't want people you want hot spots on the map.
Mm-hmm.
You need
Yeah.
hot spots on the
You need
map.
targeted loot,
So
that we used to
how
call
do
it.
you yeah, how do you manage that?
The other thing you
Make
want
them
is you
both
want
happen.
you want collision over those places. So maybe in one spot is not the right answer, but like the lead X thing in Resort, for example, is a good example because it's not in one place, it's in potentially a bunch of different places. So in order to clear all the spawns, you have to be in the resort for a good 5 minutes running all over, which gives lots of other people an opportunity to bump into you that are also looking for either you to kill you or to find that
Hmm.
lead X as well. So they could probably do things like that, like make it so, because you still want collision. You want to force collision, especially for the best loot in the game. You want people to fight over it. So but like making it so every duffel bag can spawn a red key card is just going to spread everyone out. Like
Yeah.
you're just going to be like, there's going to be less collision as a result of that. So
Yeah.
there are definitely limits to the randomization, I would say, that people want. So, but yeah, if you could localize it, like, yeah, if you want lead X's, you go to Resort. That's it. If you want key cards, maybe you go to the pier. And so tons of people fighting over the pier, tons of people fighting over the resort. We're back to heavy collision for the best stuff in the game. If all you are is a rat and you're looking for money, you can just clear out village and power
Yeah.
station, and like avoid the
Right.
two and still make a ton of money, right?
Yeah, there's still, I mean, most of your items are worth 10K.
Right, right.
So, I mean,
Yeah,
you
you can
take in
make
a
so
42
much.
spot backpack every raid, you're fine.
Mm-hmm. And that's pretty common. It's just like hitting the stashes and all the maps, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I don't think it should be truly dynamic. I don't think people realize what the end result of that is.
Yeah.
Even just
A
to
lot of
use their
people,
word, but
my chat's bringing it up right now, and I was going to ask you this because we're hitting about that time. This happens every single wipe where people
mm-hmm.
start getting frustrated um, about your gamma container or your
Right,
any secure container, right? They go, oh, well, we should make it to where you can't put this in there. You can only carry this in here. Well, you should only have that in here.
right,
And
right.
now I have you and I's talk from last time to fall back on, and I kind of giggle about it
Mm-hmm.
because how, in fact, I had this conversation last night, like how easily we forget what
Mm-hmm.
it's like to be new.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That's all
that
they're
that
getting out every time is
yes,
a couple of screws, in their
right. And
gamma
that
container.
gamma is everything to
Right,
everybody. But now that people have been around for a while, now we're getting later in the wipe, everybody's a Chad.
yeah,
They're like, you don't need that stupid container. It
right,
should it
right,
should only be to where you can put your meds in there, maybe one extra, like everybody's
right.
coming up with their parameters around this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like if a 9 slot anything in this game is making you think that you're losing the game because or you're better than,
Right.
no,
Yeah.
no.
I also think it's. I don't think. I think it's a symptom, right? Like players love to attack the symptoms without really, like as far as most players get is like, oh, my arm hurts when I move it, doc, and the doc's like, well, stop moving your arm, right? That's their fix, like. But that's
Yeah.
not really the problem. The problem is probably deeper. We should actually look into seeing why your arm hurts and
Right,
come up
right.
with a real solution. So
I'm usually like, well, then just switch over to an alpha, or
right,
or you don't even have to bring in a container if you want to make it harder on yourself. I'm just letting you know.
yeah,
And then they're
yeah,
like, no, 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 no. BSG's got to change something. No, you can change it yourself.
right,
That's what my friend Gingerliness did. She got so tired of hearing. She has 500 million in the game.
yeah,
She's an
yeah,
amazing player, love her.
yeah, yeah,
But her chat all day long. Why don't you have Kappa? Why don't you have Kappa?
right.
She pulled the biggest dick move I've ever seen in my life. Sold her
Sold
gamma
it to
and
fence. Yeah.
ran a whole weekend without a container at all,
Mm-hmm.
and then bought an alpha so she could
Right.
hold her keys in it. And still made 12 million in one
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
And
I
it's
love it.
like,
Yep.
she got sick of hearing about it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But I know we're going through the phases right now. It's going to be all about money, people being mad about money, excuse me, getting frustrated about the container, and then in
Mm-hmm.
about 2 to 3 weeks we should start the wipe talk.
Yeah, yeah.
We should, we're on this
It's time
perfect
to wipe,
cycle.
right?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
players are actually confused about the container and its impacts. Like, because this comes back to hatchlings too. Like, what is the real problem with hatchlings? Like so many people hate them. It's like, okay, well, let's break down why do people actually hate hatchlings? Why do people hate the fact that a hatchling runs to the LEDX room, gets the LEDX, shoves it in his container, and then dies or doesn't die or whatever happens? Why are
Mhm.
people really upset?
I'm
So
upset because I didn't get a fight.
right, so you want there to be
That's
more
me.
people, right?
Yeah.
To fight. That's a totally valid excuse or reason to be upset. Other people is because they wanted the LEDX and they didn't
Right.
get it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
But the LEDX is just money. Like there's only one quest that actually requires a legit found and raid LEDX, right? So, and that can be made in the hideout. So, at the end of the day, it's just money. So how upset are they that a little bit of money was taken out of the map by a guy who's now probably dead? And
He's
so
a hatchling, but he has like 37 thick cases because he just keeps
Right.
dying with everything. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's the real? Let's go deeper. Let's figure out what the real problem is. And the one of the problems I agree is that there aren't enough fights. Like it's harder to find a good fight. And so that's actually a legitimate problem. And so things like the woods expansion or the customs expansion, that actually causes more problems to this sense that there aren't enough fights than the fact that people are shoving LEDXs in their containers, right? And And again, the attack on hatchlings. Well, everyone's focused on, well, what can we do to slow down hatchlings? And even BSG has fallen into this trap a little bit, like with the cursed and tag stuff and all that. But I think it's kind of besides the point. It's like there's always going to be a minimum build, a super cost-effective build that is designed to make money quickly, get in, get out, shove it in your container, right?
Just
And
like a meta. There's always going to be a meta gun to be mad about.
So is that the problem? Or, like, let's try to attack the actual real problem. And it can't be that somebody took some money out of the map and got out, right? Because everyone has so much money now. That's one of the things we're complaining about. So who cares if a guy got, like, we're mad that we didn't get a chance to fight him. But, and that's legit, but there's better solves to that than attacking the hatchling, which you're never really going to stomp out completely. There's always going to, again, there's just always going to be a meta. I'm going to bring in a P.A.K.A. and a tank helmet. That's the new thing. And then I'm going to throw him on the ground as soon as I enter the map, and
right.
And I'm going to proceed as normal. So there's always going to be a way around whatever attempts they make to stop the hatchling runs.
Right. Well, so they were and this is just my opinion here. They were an actual issue back when money was hard. To get. Back when having really 10 million. Was really, really shocking. Here we go and we invest all this money in a kit, and now we're going in there. We're not as quick as they are. Right. And we get in there and we're like, hey, like you took away the most exciting part of my raid, which was trying to get this big item and get out of here. And you're laying dead on the floor and you don't care. Or, back in the day before the found and raid issue, you would run into rooms in resort constantly and just find somebody there that blew themselves up. Because they already put it in their gamma and they could just sell it.
Run out?
They were like, I'm not going to waste my time running out. So I am happy about those changes because I felt like we could see it immediately. And also there's money all over the place now. So it's not that big of a deal, like you said.
You can always get money out of a map. And here's the other thing: the better players are way better at getting out with money. Like the comparison that I hear, like you were saying before, like, oh, I killed 4 Chads and I got all the equipment out and it didn't sell for much. Like the fact that you killed 4 Chads in a run is like a miracle raid for a bad player, right? That's like never gonna happen. So the fact that you're in that class of player means you already are so good at the game that you can make tons of money every time you go out. You're way better at killing scavs. You're way better at finding, good loot and getting out with it. Your ability to make money, regardless of that one scenario that you talk about, your ability to make money is so advanced compared to like average player, right? Or even bad player. That money is not your problem, like
no, it's just used as a measuring stick at this point. And last wave I used to joke that for every 100 million you got an extra inch. That's what people thought. Right. Because they always were like coming in like, I got 300 million. Like,
well, if that's true, we gotta end this. I gotta get back to Tarkov. The real problem is maybe it's just not satisfying enough, right, to kill 4 Chads, right? Shouldn't that be most of the satisfaction?
I don't know. That would make my whole day as having a fight. Yeah, like
exactly.
That.
Like that would be something I never forgot, But and some of that's just fatigue. You play a game too much, and everything you do it gets a little less, exciting, right? But at the end of the day, it's like, you should be excited you killed 4 Chads and got to just bathe in their loot for a little while, even if it isn't worth that much. The satisfaction should be, wow, what a great experience.
Right.
But we're attaching too much to the dollar amount, because that's what we do as human beings. We focus on the dollars and how much of it we have, right? But so
that's true.
And
what do you think about maybe these changes being made right now, like the changes to the solar just really irritated me. I haven't even bought solar. I don't plan on buying solar, so it doesn't affect me
Mm-hmm.
personally.
I didn't know
But
what the changes were. What were the changes?
so they went from one ASA and 12,000 euros
Mm-hmm.
to four ASAs and 50,000 euros to four ASAs and 75,000 euros, which is like what, like 10, 12, 14 million.
Mm-hmm.
They also made it, I think it's like 20 million, chat, correct me on this one, 20 million to extend your hideout now to make it bigger if you started with like the standard edition.
Okay.
So that's a huge money sink.
Well,
Um,
sort of.
but to
Those.
make it like right now, like why couldn't you have made those changes early on? And that would have, like you said, been a money sink. It doesn't matter now.
Yeah,
Everybody's
yeah.
rich.
Well,
What's
they.
the point? Now you're just gonna hurt the guy that's been playing Tarkov since the beginning of the wipe happened on the
Right.
weekends when his wife isn't breathing down his neck. You know, he's like, I finally got here,
Right.
and you sons of bitches made
Yeah.
it this much money.
I
Like,
was €1 away.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So just to speak on the game design front of both of those, one is yeah, the timing is weird. They definitely seem to just throw things in as soon as they're done with them. You know, they're working the early access excuse pretty hard as always, but yeah, there's a better time to do those things, but they may not want to risk because there's some risk in piling tons of things in all at once, right? That's a lot more you have to
Mhm.
test all at once. So getting that in now and just letting it be tested, you know, like helps them long term. Um, but yeah, it definitely isn't appreciated by the people that are, you know, that €1 away.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing is though that those aren't actually money sinks. One-time purchases aren't money sinks, and so to actually drain money out of an economy, you have to consistently take stuff. So
Okay.
like that's where insurance is a money sink, right? And
Okay.
you know, again, like graphics cards with durability, that's a money sink because those things are going to wear out. So the water filter is a money sink because it runs out.
Okay.
So one-time purchases they slow you down, you know, a little bit. They definitely set a pace to how long it takes you to get to max whatever, but the good players get there quickly and the bad players get there never or eventually, but very slowly. Um,
Are there some money sinks that you would add in? I really like the idea of the hideout
yeah,
having
the
durability.
high
Like
ability, yeah,
that is super
exactly.
cool.
I think
That would be
that would be
cool.
a good one. Yeah, what else? I actually think you struck on a pretty good criticism, believe it or not, or without maybe realizing it. But I don't think the Tarkov maps do a good job of making the best loot in the game difficult to acquire without the presence of other players. Meaning, like, what if the resort were full of raiders, right?
Hmm.
You know, Hatchling just wants to cruise up with his key, right, and start unlocking doors, right? That becomes a much more difficult, you know, task, right?
Hmm.
And so even labs is where it's like it's supposed to have tons of raiders. You kind of have to unlock them first. Like you can run around labs and loot a ton of
Yeah.
stuff before the
It,
raiders even
it
come out. So
it wasn't like that before. You'd spawn into labs and immediately be like,
get
what's
rushed.
gonna
Yeah,
happen? And now it's like, okay, we'll go turn on, parking. Hope
yeah,
they'll
yeah.
spawn. You
So I
know.
think they could do a better job of hiding the best loot behind NPCs, you know, scavs, raiders. Um, make those places, you know, more dangerous just to get in the door, so to speak, you know, to have a chance of getting the good loot. So that would encourage people that are geared and ready and looking for a fight to go to those places. Not just for loot, but for a good fight. You know, like
And for
design more
them to,
PvP oriented locations.
what about them like spawning later in the raid as well, like as an add-on? Because it
Right.
feels like you kill Sanitar.
Yeah, yeah.
Now what are you gonna do? Like, most of the action just happened right there.
Yeah.
Again, just keeping somebody in the raid longer, or having
Yeah, that's a
scav
tough one.
players have that chance too, because I know a lot of people love scavving on reserve to go
Mm-hmm.
after the raiders because they
Yeah,
have
yeah.
nothing to lose. It's a smart idea and it's exciting, or they can maybe find some dead raiders and get their loot and get out.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a risk.
Right, right.
Um, bringing that to some other maps in a
Yeah.
form would be
One
cool.
one of the things I love is players triggering, boss spawns. And so um I think like the train showing up is really cool. It's a timed thing. But I think the bunker thing is even better on reserve, where you flip a switch and now things can happen, and it's a player driven event, and it kind of means we want to create now a new targeted destination in the map, whether that's better loot or more raiders to farm or whatever it is, the boss. I actually think
Hmm.
that's really good. Just generally speaking, having things spawn later, I'm struggling with the value of having people just loiter on maps, like
Yeah,
waiting
you
for
don't.
the potential,
Right.
you know.
I could see that. I understand that.
So,
Like,
because the
man, I've
pacing
been
again
sitting
drops
next to
off.
this desk for like
Yeah,
20 minutes, not
right.
engaging anybody, but
Yeah,
I'm
just camping it,
still
and
over here. Yeah.
so I don't know that
Yeah.
that's going to lead to good experiences, but ones that are player driven, and especially when they're turning power on, and the med room in interchange is another good example of this. Like, I love the strategic element of that, and I love the
Hmm.
you know
I do
the,
too.
the
I love that
dynamism
map.
of it. It's like one of the best times I've had is like the four of my crew of four go up, and we were able to secure the med area, and then it's like, okay, well, two of us have to go turn power on, right? That's
Right.
such a
Right.
great experience, like, because the two are on this dangerous mission to go unlock it, and the other two are lucky enough to be the guys who get to loot the room. You have to draw straws and hope for the best, and then they run into problems at power, and it's so
It is
great.
so fun.
Like,
Yeah.
so I love stuff like that. And then a lot of other times, especially as solos, it's like, well, do I turn the power on now?
Right. Or do
Because
I wait?
someone else is going to loot it before I get there. Do I, like,
Yeah.
there's just a lot of really important decisions, and a lot of fun can happen with those kinds of mechanics. So I'd
Hmm.
love to see, more of that. But again, yeah, just design the rewards with more, um, either more PvP in mind, in terms of, like, you have to come ready to fight in order to get the best stuff in the game in some locations. And I think also, designing for the rat is also kind of important, because, General Sam, let's just assume he's right, and there's only two kinds of players.
Right. Yeah.
It's more nuanced than that, but he's hilarious. So um, you need to design some game elements for the rat as well. So,
And even
have
for people in the beginning, we're still rats in the
yeah,
beginning.
yeah.
There's a lot of us that still have to go on those
Yeah,
money runs,
yeah, exactly. My point is that most of us have some combination of rat and Chad in us, right? So
Hmm.
it's rarely as simple, but I think areas that were designed for the best rats is also kind of cool. Like, maybe it requires a jump puzzle and a lot of speed, to be the first to get into an area, that has good
Yeah.
loot, and it's a rat off, right? And then then the Chads camp it and hope to blast them on the way out or whatever. But
Right. Because they
um,
just need player kills for
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
reason. Yeah.
So I think, if it's designed properly for those kinds of play experiences in mind, I think they can do a much better job. Which you alluded to, which is, like, rats can't go to resort. There's just too many NPCs. There's too many raiders guarding the doors. It's just too difficult. So they end up going to the pier and trying to do the jump puzzle and get out of there with, the key card that might spawn in there. And
Hmm.
all the Chads go to the resort. They're stoked. They get
Yeah.
to fight raiders. They get to, clean
I
up
want a
anything
raider
else
on the
there.
top of, like, I want raiders on, like, one or two of them patrolling the roof.
Right,
Because
right.
if they get taken out, it's something that you can use when you go down to power is you spot
Mm-hmm.
that
Oh, yeah.
that
You hear it. You
scav
see
and
it. Yep.
yeah, where was he killed from? You can see kind
Mm-hmm.
of how he slumped over. You're
Yep.
looking that way. Or if he's stalking somebody, you can use him
Right,
to
right.
see like where that person is at.
Yeah.
I would love it if there was like a raider roaming the roof of
Right.
resort, you
So they,
know?
they can put a lot more design work into how the map plays, essentially, without players, at first, and then how
Hmm.
players respond to those events, being played. So they could definitely do a better job than that. But so far, the worrying trend again is just increase the map size, add more loot, which just allows more people to run around, get more loot, and leave before they ever actually fight in the game. And I think that's a bad trend. I'm bored. I'm bored out of my skull if I run around, fill up a backpack, and leave without a single fight. Right? Like, it's great for my wallet, but it's so boring. Like,
Right.
and so customs used to be a map where it used to be my favorite map because it's like, oh, I'm guaranteed a fight. There's no way I'm getting out of here without at least one scav taking a shot at me. So,
Right.
and that creates all kinds of like experiences, right? Like I have to dodge the scav, I have to shoot him, and someone's going to hear my shot and come try to track me down. Like there's so much tension in just one fight with one scav, and so, and I'm not to say that every map run has to have at least one fight, but I feel like most of the overwhelming majority of them should have at least one fight. And then some maps have several fights, and other, every once in a while there's no fight. You just kind of get to loot and scoot, and that's it. But
That's what a lot of people come in now and they go, is it a good time to start? Should I wait for the wipe? And I'm like, no, you need to start right now because it's getting quiet. Some of the chats have, given up for a while. Customs isn't what it normally is at the beginning of a wipe. Like, this is a perfect time to start going through the game.
Just watch out for the level 7 hardcore guys that are way better than you, and even though all they have is a Makarov.
Right.
Or the level 7s that are geared out to the gills, right? Because they've got friends with billions of rubles.
Yeah.
But obviously, honestly, get in as soon as possible. The faster you start learning, the faster you're gonna get up to speed. And but I do see a lot of new players still. I think it's great. You can always kind of tell the health of the new player crowd by the price of light bulbs. So if you ever want to know how it's going in terms of new players,
you've got a way to judge it. I like that. That's funny. Yeah, if you see them running around on customs, I don't know. Right now, like level 15, level 20 and below, I'm hitting that point where I'm just hiding all their stuff. At the beginning of a wipe, it's nobody's shit gets hidden, and then it's like, okay, level 10 and below, like I'll hide your stuff if I'm good. But now it's like, if they were low geared, they were on a task, something like that, like I'll just go dump all your stuff for you. I hope you had it insured. God, if you could afford insurance, right? You never know.
Right. I'm getting to the point where I don't really want to pick up anything. Like, here's two reasons why. Like, I don't have a lot of confidence I'm going to make it out in the first place. So adding a bunch of stuff that slows me down, like puts me overweight, just sounds like a bad idea. Just lessens my chances. And two, it's like, what am I going to do with this guy's slick? Add it to the pile of 3 I already have in my hideout? Like, am I going to sell it? I already have more money than I know what to do with. So it's like, I don't even care about looting anything anymore.
After Kappa to prevent that, like I don't even want to loot it because I understand exactly what you're saying. Like I'm kind of like whatever now when I'm looting. But something after Kappa to help engage, and a lot of people talked about daily or weekly tasks. But I feel like there should also be something that if they offer like a weekly task and you can turn in 5 of them that you completed, then you get like a thick weapons case, like something like that's a big deal, and this task is going to take you 2 days to do. That would keep people engaged because this like the wipe, I don't give a shit if you have 10 thick items cases. Like nobody really cares right now. Yeah. But that would be something that
you could delete all those and it wouldn't actually even you wouldn't sweat it, like Gingerless proves so well, it's like whatever. Like none of this it's all replaceable, at the end of the day.
It's just all about the fights now. It's just I want to fight.
And that's a fun place to get to, but I don't think there's enough choice and difference in your gear things. Like there's several really good guns depending on your play style, but I think armor again struggles. It's like you're either in a Corvind or you're in a Slick or a Hex Grid. It's like that's it.
I've got Slicks coming out of my ears because I just do the trade. The Slicks cost me like
no one's wearing armor. No one's wearing the turtle armor. Like, and it's probably realistic. Like again, but I feel like we could cut on the realism a little bit. And
Yeah.
to up the game experience, which is, no, I want to be a little slower, but I want to feel like a tank, like
Hmm.
I want to feel like, no, this guy's going to have to pump 10 rounds of 995 into me to drop me, like,
Right.
and which will probably still be
Yeah.
easy because I'm super slow and can't maneuver. I can't move my head, so,
Yeah. Like in the beginning of
um,
the wipe, that first month, you run across somebody in an Alton and you're like, ah, and you kind of
right,
like
right. You
scurry
just
off
give
to the
up. Yeah.
side. You're like, leg meta, leg meta, leg
Right.
meta.
Yeah. So I wish there were more compelling, choices for players to like, I'm going to go as this, I'm going to go as that, and have it actually work in that respect. But there's very few loadouts that work beyond the core, ones that most everyone runs. So
Hmm. Yeah,
most of that
that's
stuff
true.
just doesn't work. So and that
What do
was
you?
the dream, wasn't it? It used to be the dream of like, oh, I'm going to get so rich and so ahead of the game that I'm going to be able to run, turtle armor and factory and just, like mow everybody down as the
Yeah.
Terminator, right?
Yeah, back in the day, that was it. You wore a fort and
Yeah.
Alton, and you ran a VSS on factory,
Mm-hmm.
just day in and day out.
But now
Just,
that dream is
you
just
know.
ridiculous because there's some guy with a SIG that just annihilates you, right? Um, and so, and
Yeah,
he's running around with a beret, a SIG, and a PACA just to, just for shits and giggles.
yeah. What do you think
So,
about the people that they get frustrated about like the meta, like, oh God, everybody's running a slick and an HK. Um,
right.
I mean, I I feel like I that's like getting mad at somebody for driving a Corvette,
Right.
like
Um,
they wanted to buy a good car, they earned
yeah,
it,
yeah.
that it doesn't bother me at all, but I always feel like it's either the guy who got bored with the game and left, or it's
Mm-hmm.
the one that's never been past 25,
Right.
level
So,
25, and they're so upset about it. But most other people are like, I'm having fun. I busted my ass for
yeah,
it. So
yeah.
I've heard all these different side arguments for it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know,
Yeah, so first of all, you have to, like, this is a perfect example of like how you have to break down what they're actually saying, like, because it's not an HK and a slick. The slick thing is actually real pretty close to true, but there's a lot of really good weapons. Like you can kill people very effectively with a much bigger variety of weapons. So everyone using an HK is kind of ridiculous. But what are they really saying? Like what do they really want the game? What does their dream game look like in this respect? That the Makarov is just as good as the HK. All that matters is your skill. Like they're not really saying that, are they? Like,
right.
so there's always going to be a tier list of weapons, whether it's pistol to rifle or it's um, different guns for different situations is good. Like I love kitting out based on the map I'm going to or what my objective is. Am I going to be
Hmm.
doing a lot of close quarters inside resort, or am I going to be sniping from the roof? Like,
Yeah.
um, so one, that complaint isn't really true, and two, like I don't particularly understand what their dream game looks like because if they're legitimately asking, you can use any weapon and it's all fine. That's nonsense, right? Like, I don't think anybody wants to see a game where the guns don't matter at all. Your gun choice doesn't matter at all. So,
Yeah.
um,
Well, my chat brought up the KS-23.
mm-hmm.
This gun just makes me roll my eyes. It's like getting killed by a grenade launcher on labs. Like,
Right, right,
where's the fight, dude?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. The absence of leg armor is definitely an interesting decision. Um, but I'm happy that there are shotguns that are worth a damn now. Like, so maybe not that good, but
nothing I can use for a task. I can't use the KS-23 for
oh
my
right,
suppressed shotgun,
that could
or
be
anything like
just a
that.
matter of time. Like eventually they took all the Mosin quests and made them bolt action rifle quests. So it might be on their list somewhere to have shotgun quests be all shotgun quests.
Maybe.
Um,
Well, so when the Mosin came out, we all got pissed off about the Mosin.
yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
if you were playing back
I
then, but it was
was,
just,
yeah,
yeah, like you're like, hey, I'm bringing in, back then a 600K kit was like
right,
bonkers, right? Like I'm bringing in 600K worth of shit, and you
yeah,
brought in
yeah,
a 20,000 weapon,
right,
and you're naked skipping
mm-hmm,
around on customs, and you're just, one tapping these guys. And it
Yeah.
did. It felt miserable because most of us, again, were there for the fight. And
Hmm.
that's how I feel about the KS. Like, we just have another freaking Mosin on our
Yeah, yeah.
hand.
Okay,
At least a
so
grenade launcher is $1 billion, right? Like, it's
right.
expensive.
So there's a couple things there. One is the idea of every dog having his day. Like, I think is really important for games like this. If the guy who brings in the 600k kit always beats the guy with the Mosin, then a lot of players are going to quit before they ever get to 600k mark. And so it's important that Mosin guy has a chance, even if most of the time it doesn't go right. So I
That's a
think
valid point.
I
I
think
like
that's an
that.
important element, right? We typically call that variance, randomness or RNG, and there's some of that in Tarkov as well, with bullets fragmenting and all that. But um, so, but the other thing is like, where would you expect a shotgun to really shine if it's not point blank, right? With a full
Hmm.
load of buckshot, why is the shotgun in the game, right?
Right. It's like
So
50 meters away. People are getting one shot by the scouts with a
yeah,
shotgun, and they're
right.
like,
So that's a different problem, but yeah. um, but yeah, like that's its role is point blank with the shotgun. Like that's where it should hurt the most. So, um, and I think that's great because everywhere else, the guy with the HK is going to own the guy with the shotgun if they're designed
Mhm.
correctly. So, I think that's
Well,
just a tuning issue of getting the
chat brought up. Sorry, chat brought up a good point. They said that the Mosin is a good balancing weapon because it takes a lot of skill to use, and
yep.
I have to agree. Versus the
Mm-hmm.
KS-23, lining up a Mosin shot
Yep.
is not the easiest thing that's ever
Yeah.
happened.
And you usually only get the one shot, right?
You're
So
right. Yeah.
there's no correction. Like I'm terrible with the Mosin because I need 100 round mags to correct my aim. Like I put garbage ammo in the
Right.
first 80 slots, and then the last 20 are the good ones because that's how long it takes me to get my recoil under control.
Accuracy by volume.
That's
Yes.
right.
I do that too.
So yeah, it's I think the Mosin is actually a good weapon. I think the price increase was also correct.
Yeah.
But I think the Mosin was a pretty good weapon, all told. But I think there's a place for Mosins, I guess I should say. But you should also strive to graduate out of it. And most people do, like once they can
Yeah.
get to an M1A or an SVDS, that's where they go. So, because the killing power on those weapons is way better. So,
Hmm.
yeah, so yeah, they still obviously still need some tuning, and I'm not sure where their sensibilities are in terms of realism versus gameplay. Like, they still seem to be striving for realism, so some of the things we want, we may not actually get in terms of like, especially in terms of like armor being useful, because in the real world, ammo is just way better than all armor we've come up with. So that's just
That's
how the
true.
real world works. So if they want to be realistic, we're never really going to get to a point where people with the best ammo don't just, shred everyone in the game. So,
So I'm just
uh,
wondering, like, are bad bullets really that bad? I'm not a firearm expert,
mm-hmm,
but I'm just wondering, like, uh, PS ammo, 545 PS. Let me be
mm-hmm,
specific about this, or
right, right,
PRS. Like, you're not really IRL gonna shoot somebody 7 times and be like, oh
right,
damn,
yeah.
that didn't work out. Like,
Well, I think that is where like big armor actually is effective. Like SWAT armor will stop guy who's trying to hold up a liquor store with a pistol, right? With his full metal jacket ammo, right? But um, in a real like war situation, which is kind of what we're involved with in Tarkov, right? That armor is not going to be worth much, So assuming your opponent is just as geared, as you are, but
mhm.
yeah. So, but most of like if you look at the ammo charts, generally speaking, as ammo gains armor pen, it reduces flesh damage. So
Right.
it's
Yeah.
just
So you
again,
have to
it's
look for more
like
of a balance on that
yeah.
than
So I
we
think
did
the
before.
the middle ammos are actually the worst, right? Like nobody wants the middle ammos that are kind of penetrating armor and do a little bit of flesh damage, right? Because nobody's
In the
wearing
beginning of the life,
armors.
we do. Yeah.
Well,
In the
yeah,
beginning, we're fine, but no, this late into the game, no.
yeah. So you either want high flesh damage, aim for the legs, or the face, and call it a day, although anything to the face works. But or yeah, you want the highest pen ammo, right? So
Hmm.
so I think they, from a design perspective, they do okay with that. And then yeah, I think it's actually really important that ammo changes in value over the wipe. You know, like BT is amazing at the very beginning, you know, and
Hmm.
then
Yeah, it is.
you run reserve, you know, 20 times and you're swimming in it, and then you're like, okay, now it's time to upgrade. Um, and so that's actually good because that's a fun progression as well. Like as players, we like to progress and feel like we're getting better over time. So
Well, that's the
um,
thing. I just saw somebody in chat said they need to make good armor or good ammo
mm-hmm,
harder to find. But I
yeah,
also hear this about level 5 and 6 armor is that they need to take that out of the game or make it super rare. And I'm like, why? Because are these chads, and you know what I'm
mm-hmm,
talking about, like
yeah, yeah,
people like me that have 6,000 hours in this game.
mm-hmm,
I'm not gonna bust my ass to get to a Karasa.
right, right.
Uh,
Um, and also, like again, the 5 and 6 armor doesn't do shit. You know, like
I want to
it,
look cute in my slick and my, fast
right,
MT with my
right.
trooper cover,
Yeah, you
and
want to
like
flex a little bit, you know, like
that's what I bust my ass for. And they're like,
mm-hmm,
oh, they shouldn't be able to sell it on the market. We
right.
shouldn't have level 6 this. We shouldn't have that.
Yeah, yeah.
Why?
No, there should definitely be rewards for playing a lot and playing well. You know, like those are the two metrics. Um, the only metric they need to leave out is the wallet. You know, like make sure I can't buy buy things with my credit card. Um, but yeah, time and skill, those are the metrics you want to reward, right? So, and that's good. That's good for the experience. And it helps separate, you know, people that are not as good or don't have as much time. And I think that's a separation most people can appreciate. And that's one of the things that sets Tarkov apart. You know, like if I'm an amazing first person shooter, you know, player, then I can go to a lot of different games and be largely as good at one game as another. You know, there's still map knowledge and flow and all those kinds of things to learn, but when it comes to finally comes to the engagement, I'm going to be pretty good. But in Tarkov, it's like you got a lot of additional skills you have to master, and it's a much slower process for most people. So that's a good thing. It helps sets it apart.
Yeah. So you're saying there's hope for me with other games.
Um,
I might be
absolutely,
able to play other games.
absolutely. It's funny though. I've heard that like people say, like when Cyberpunk came out, a lot of people went to play Cyberpunk and they felt like it was so easy because of their time in Tarkov. You know, like
Yeah.
Tarkov trained them in so many different ways because it's so much more important to land your shots in Tarkov than it is in any other game. Because most other games are just like, no, you're just going to run it back. Like if you look at Valorant, you know, it's like, you're just going to run it back. You're going to be back in a game in no time, no problem. But in Tarkov, it's like there's so much more investment
Hmm.
in getting in and staying alive and landing your shots during engagements that, yeah, it's a lot more important. So if you keep
Yeah.
training and keep at it, you know, you're going to get better and it's going to feel really rewarding.
I would say Hunt Showdown. I don't know if you and I had talked about this before,
Mm-hmm.
but I played Hunt Showdown. My husband plays it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He loves that game.
Yeah, yeah.
I tried to play it. Turns out they don't have a Valde in
Okay.
Hunt.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating. Just want to point that out. And I couldn't land a goddamn shot
Wow.
for nothing right away. I was scared the whole time, but I will say
Right.
I think it's a fabulous game. I'm probably gonna give it another few tries here and there.
Yeah, yeah.
But I spent the entire time being terrified and excited about a fight, and
Yeah.
it
Nice.
kind of took me back to the beginning
Right, of
of
Tarkov,
Tarkov.
yeah.
I was confused. I didn't know how everything worked,
Mm-hmm.
and what was around every corner.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually really interesting. I haven't found any other game though that does what
That's it.
Tarkov does.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Man, you should have seen me playing at the beginning. I streamed it for the most part, but it was kind of amazing. Like, I'm on customs, and one of my exfils is passage between rocks. So I'm literally running between every two set of rocks I can find, trying to activate the exfil because I had no idea, right? So, such a good time. But yeah,
That's funny. Yeah,
now we're
yeah.
all
But
veterans and, we struggle with other
yeah.
things, but we're getting
But
jaded, right?
No, Easy said that in a tweet not too long ago. He said, here's my first 50 hours of Tarkov, and it's
Mm-hmm.
all about him being on labs, jumping around and killing things. And I was like,
Right.
what
Right.
is this crap?
Sure.
My
Sure.
first 50 hours of Tarkov, I was prone crawling across customs, panicked
Yeah.
out of my mind, trying to find an extract, and his ass is jumping around
Yeah.
in
I was prone because
lab.
I was actually dead. That was my first 50 hours.
Right? Yeah.
I didn't even know
Yeah.
there was a prone button. I remember the first time somebody went prone on me. I was just like, "What the hell? You can do that?" And they blasted me. It
Oh
was
my
so good.
gosh. That's awesome. Well, I'm gonna let you go from here, but thank you so
All
much
right.
for taking time. I hope
Yeah, of
maybe
course.
we'll make this a more regular thing. I know there'll be a lot more
Oh yeah,
To talk about with Tarkov over the next
for sure.
month. So
There's
if you want to meet up again next month, I'm totally down.
okay. Yeah, let's do it. I'd love to do a regular
Okay.
thing. And yeah, there's tons to talk about with Tarkov. So anytime.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you, Jordan.
Of
Make sure
course.
that you give him a shout out, chat, please. Kevin Jordan, he's live right now. Go say hi. Go say hi.
Yeah,
All
guys
right.
that are on my
Thanks,
side,
Kevin.
go say hi to Sigma.
Yeah.
Super amazing.
Thank you. I will talk to you soon.
All right. See you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye. All right, guys. Thanks very much for watching on YouTube. I appreciate it. That was Sigma and I just chatting about various Tarkov things. We got sidetracked a little bit, but yeah, good chats. And I hope to do more for sure. So thanks for watching very much. Just gently massage that like button if you would. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Take care.